In this video, we'll discuss about what does it mean by conversion of fractions, decimals and percentages, and how do you convert these things. First of all, I'll recommend you that please don't just memorize the things, try to understand what does it mean and what's the terminology between them. Let's start with this. I've written, first of all, before you should continue, you should know that what does it mean by a fraction, by a decimal and a percentage. A fraction is basically the representation of the total number of equal parts in a whole. And what is the decimal? The decimal is a point or a representation that separates the wholes and the parts. I'll just write it there. Decimal just separates the wholes and the parts, and you always put the point between them. So this point basically means the decimal, and fraction is just the total number of equal pieces. I'm just writing the shortcuts. And what does it mean by a percentage? You can see in the percentage word, I'm just writing it again. It says percent. It means, what does it mean by this word per? You have noticed that whenever you go to supermarkets, most of the time it says the price. For example, the price of apples is 10 pounds per kilogram. So that per means it is the price of each thing, right? Or for everything. For every kilogram you have to pay 10 pounds. And what does it mean by a cent? A century, that means anything out of 100. So basically the word percent means anything out of 100 or for each 100. So percentage means you have to find something out of 100. Now let's look back at these things. So I'll just say it again, don't just memorize to times it by 100 and all that things. So these are the fractions I have written in this column, and then some of the decimals and some of the percentages we have to convert these back. It says 17 out of 100. So what does it mean by this? 17 out of 100 means if you convert this into a decimal, so it says 1700th. So 1700th means 17. In 17 it should be 100th place. So you can see this is 100th place, then 10th place, and then before 10th place there's a decimal. So it will be 0.17. Okay. If you convert this one now, it says 800th. So 800th means 8 should go in the 100th place. So that will be 800th place. And then you don't have any 10th place, so that will be 10th place. And then point, and then you can just put a 0 just to complete this number. The next one, it says 3/10. So 3/10 means 3 should go in the 10th place, so it will be 0.3. And the next one, it says 2/25. So if you check in the decimals, it's always the 10th place means anything out of 10, and then it says the 100th place means anything out of 100th, then it says 1000th place, and it goes on. So there is no 25th place there. So what you have to do, you have to check how do you convert this to get a 10th or a 100th or a 1000th and so on. So you can clearly see that 25 is the biggest number than 10, so it cannot be 10. But can you change this to 100th, right? If you just check the 25 times table or the multiple of 25 goes to 100 4 times. So it means you just have to times the whole thing there with 4 just to get the equivalent fractions, if you remember that. So this thing will be the same as 800th, right? And that 800th means 8 should go in the 100th place. That will be same thing actually. So it will be 0.08. Now just convert these things further into percentages. So what was the percentage again? Percentage means anything out of 100. So you just have to check this means what out of 100. So you can see that this is 1700th. So this will be 17 out of 100 or 17 percentage or 17%. This thing means 8 out of 100 or 8 of 100. It means that will be 8%. or 8 percentage. What about this one? If you check, this thing is 3/10. So this thing is not out of 100 yet. So what you have to do, you have to make it 100. So how you can change it to 100? You can just times it by 10 just to get the equivalent fraction again. So if you times it with 10, times it with 10, so you will get 30 100th. So that means 30 out of 100 or 30%. And since this is the same thing as we got 2/25th, or that also means 800th. So 800 means 8 out of 100, that will be 8 percentage. I hope this is clear now. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, we have some of the decimals this time. So we have to convert back these decimals to again fractions and percentages. If we just convert these things to the fractions first, you can see that it says 0.16. So you can clearly see that this is the 10th place and then this is the 100th place. So basically everything ends up at 100th. So it will be 100th place. So it will be 16 out of 100. This one is again, you can see 10th place is none and it ends up with the 100th place. So it will be 4 out of 100. This in the same way it will be 7. You can see it's a 10th place, so it will be 7/10. What about this one now? This is basically the same part as that. It's a fraction again. So again, this fraction, you have to convert this fraction to a decimal. So this is a 5th place. If you just recall back this one again, so this was 25th. We don't have any 25th place. We just have 10th and 100th and the multiples of 10th basically. So we just have to change this to a 10th or 100th or 1000th. So 10th is equal to this. We just have to times it with 2. We have to times it with 2. So if you double this, it will be 6/10 or 6/10 also means 6 should go in the 10th place. So it will be 0.6. Okay. Now change these back into the percentage again. So it's 1600. So it is 16 out of 100 or 16 out of 100. So that will be 16 percentage, 16%. This you can see it's 4 out of 100. So it will be 4%. This is 7/10 or 7/10. So you have to make it 100th. So you just have to times it with the 10. If you times it with the 10, you will get 70. And this will be 100. So it's 70 100th or 70%. And then this 3/5 was changed to 6/10, and 6/10 means 6 out of 10, or if you times it by 10, you will get 60 out of 100. So that means 60%. Okay, now if you look at these things now, so these are all percentages. Okay, let's do this one first, because this is the same part as this. So this time you have to convert this fraction again to decimals and percentage. If you check this time, what do you say? First of all, what do you think? This ends up with 40. So is there any 40th place? No. You have to change this to a 10th, a 100th, or 1000th again. So can you change it to 10th? Just 40 goes to 10? No, it doesn't go. Or does it go to 100? Of course it doesn't go to 100 also. Then what do you think what you have to do? One of the ways, if you just recall back the simplification of fractions, you can just check if you reduce this fraction, if you simplify this fraction, you can check 8 and 40. They both are divisible by 2. They both are divisible by 4. They both are also divisible by 8. So you can just divide them with their, it doesn't matter, you divide by their highest common factor or anything, you can just divide them. So it's better to divide them by 8 just to simplify them in the simplest form. So this 8 over 40 will turn back to 1/5. Okay. Now it says 1/5. If you convert 5th to get a 10th or 100, so you can convert this easily to 10th. So you can just times it with 2. So you will get 2/10, and 2/10 means 0.2, right? And what will be this as a percentage? So you can see it's 2/10. 2/10 also means if you times it by 100, it will be 20 out of 100. So it will be 20%. So it's your choice. Either you can convert this into the simplest form, or if you also divide them with 4, that will be much easier for you, but it's your choice. It doesn't matter really. Okay, this time these are the percentages, so we have to convert these percentages to get the decimals and to get the fractions. Okay, first of all, I'm easy to explain these things to get the fractions first, so I think let's do that. It says 23%. If you can recall back, so percent means anything out of 100. So it says 23%, so percent means out of 100, so this will be 23 out of 100. Same for this is 5% or 5% or 5 out of 100, and then this will be 9 out of 100. Convert this back into the decimals now. So it says 2300th or 0.23. It says 500th or 0.5 should go in the 100th place, so it will be 0.5, and 9 should go in the 100th place, so 0.09. Okay, this time I have written some of the more examples just to go deeply and just to understand more that what happens if we have something like this. Again, it's a kind of recall again. So you just check if you have this thing. We have to get again a 10th or 100th just to get the decimal and percentage. So what we can do, I'll just change the color now. What we can do is we have to change this whole scenario or the denomination to get 100 better or to get a 10th. So you can see this cannot go to 10, but this can go to 100. So you just have to times it with 5 to get an equivalent fraction. So 7 and 5 times will be 35, and 20 times 5 will be 100. So it is the same thing as 3500, so it will be 35%, right, or 0.35. But what happens if you see at this fraction, it says thirds in the denominator, or the denomination is 3. So now you can see 3 doesn't go to 10, so it cannot be 10th. 3 doesn't go to 100, so it cannot be 100th. 3 doesn't go to 1000, it cannot be 1000. So it's nearly impossible to do in that way. Then what you can do is just check how is the other way to get the percentages. If you just look back this thing, it was 720. You already know that if you have a fraction, let's say if you have something like 1 out of 2, it means basically you are distributing or you are dividing the things, right? Same is there if you just recall this thing as division or as division. So 7 over 20, what does it mean by 7 over 20 if you divide that? So let's see, 7 over 20 means the numerator is 7, or the shaded things are 7, so they'll go inside, and total parts are 20. So if you divide them, you can see this number inside is smaller than that. So instead of 7, you can change it to 7.00. Let's say this much only. Alright, now we can check how many 20s go into 7. There are none. Then put the decimal up, and then still 7 is left over because there is none. So 7 will go there if you just do the bus stop method. So it's 70. How many 20s are inside of 70? There are 3. Remainder 10. So this thing is 100 now. So how many 20s are in 100? 5. That's it. So we also got 0.35, or also means 35%. So it means we can also divide these things to get the percentage and also to get the decimal. So same thing we can do it here now, because we can see it's nearly impossible to change this to a 10th or 100. So what we can do, we just have to divide them again. So if we divide them, we can see the numerator is 2. I've just write 2.00. Let's say one more 0. Okay, and we have to divide this with 3. So now we have to check how many 3's go into 2. There are 0. Remainder 2 will go there, and then this decimal will go up. How many 3's are in 20? There are 6. Remainder 2. Again, how many 3's are in 20? There are 6. Remainder 2. And how many 3s are in 20? So it's just 6 recurring, or it's 0.66666. So it means this thing as a decimal is 0.666. I'll just stop here now, but actually it goes on, or you can also just put the dots. And what does it mean by this decimal as a percentage? If you just recall back, it was, I'm just writing it back, it was 0.35. To get the percentage, actually we have to get the percent something out of 100, so we just have to convert this in, we have to times it with 100 basically. We just have to move the decimal 2 places away, 1 and 2. So that's the reason we got 35% before. So same is there now. So we just, if you follow the same way, so we just have to times it with 100, so it will come here, so it will be 66.6%. so 66.6% there. Okay, that's easy, well, but try if you can do it directly. It says 4/8. You can see 8 doesn't go to 10th or 100, but just check, can you reduce this fraction to get something? If you reduce this fraction, yeah, you can. 4/8 also means 1/2 if you divide them by 4, so it means 1/2, and 1/2 is a famous fraction, that means 50%. But have you ever observe that how do you get 1/2 as 50%? Can you please try the way that I put it before? It's basically 1/2. So if you recall that I told you to get the percentage or to get the decimal, you have to get a 10th over there or a 100th over there. So you can get a 10th by multiplying this with 5, so you will get 5/10, right? And 5/10 means 0.5, or if you want to get the percentage, 0.5 means 50%, or you just times it with 10 again. So it'll be 50, 100, so it'll be 50%. So that's why it's 50%. Okay, one more thing I just want to tell you. It says 17/10. If you just follow back the same way, it is 10th. So if you want to get the percentage, you have to times it with 100, with a 10 I mean again. So this will change to 170, and this will change to 100. So it is 170 out of 100, means it's 170%. What do you think? Does it make sense? It makes sense, yeah, because things can also be more than 100%. So whenever you, especially if you talk about something in commissions and in taxes, these things, so these of course can go more than 100%, because in these things you have to pay 100% exactly, I mean the whole amount, and then plus you have to pay something else, something extra. So that thing we'll also discuss this in next videos. But I remember that you can also get the percentages more than 100, right? And these things basically represent the improper fractions.